Friends, family, fans, welcome back to another episode of Back Nine Bets. It's your boy, the Model Maniac, aka Byron, aka my real name. It's episode 61. Bezzy Besotted. Usually the title of the podcast gives a name away, and that is the case this week, but we are thrilled to be on board the South African Express. We've got lots to discuss. We've got fun things to talk about. The PGA was an absolute slaughterhouse on the DFS side, but we absolutely crushed it from the betting market. We hit not Seamus Power top 40, but we hit Cam Davis matchup over Minwoo Lee. We hit top 20 on Patrick Cantley. We hit a top 10 on Patrick Cantley. We almost got the top 5 on him, a little triple stack action. Then we got a top 40 on Shane Lowry. And there was one other person that I had a top 40 on that I can't quite remember right now, Chris Kirk. Plus 240 or plus 200 for Chris Kirk. For the top 40, it was sexy. Shane Lowry was plus 135. He was good. And then, we couldn't figure out how to hit a winner. We picked the world number 1 golfer who finishes 50th. So we just don't know how to pick a winner. And that is why I'm wearing this Preferred Lions t-shirt. It's a podcast that you are probably very familiar with if you are a avid golf Twitter fundi like myself and others. Joe Idoni is just an absolute freak show right now. He is the host of the Preferred Lions podcast. He's had me on there once or twice, and the guy cannot not hit a winner in the outright market. It's ridiculous. He's just crushing it. I thought I'd do a little shout out to him. I'm very jealous of his ability to do this kind of stuff. I don't know how he can pick these winners like he is, but he's crushing. He's an awesome dude. He has an awesome podcast, and you should definitely give him a follow at Tour Picks and go check out Preferred Lines. I think it's a really great show and an awesome follow. I'm not going to tell you to listen to my outrights. You go and listen to Joe's. Follow my bets now, the top 20s and the matchups. We seem like the model's kicking that out a bit better. That's what we've always done well. We are focusing on what we do well, keeping to our strengths, trying to hit winners is not what we do very well here, although we will continue to try because persistence is a trait of successful people. Whew. So that's what's going on there. Just a little tangent for y'all. So thank you for sharing and for enduring that. We are back to Back Nine Bets, and let's talk a bit of golf. We've got the Colonial Country Club going on this week, the Schwab Challenge. And at the Schwab Challenge, we have ourselves an interesting little past 70, 7,200 yards, kind of short, porty, whatchamacallit, kind of a golf course. A little bit more accuracy dependent off the tee. You can get away being a big bomber if you are relatively accurate still. But as you can see, that distance in general is 5% less predictive than tour average. Strokes gained approach pretty much the same across all tour stops on average. Around the green is a little bit easier, minus 3% there on a correlation basis compared to tour average. And then putting is 1% more important. So we've got a little bit of yip and yap, some accuracy off the tee, some good putting on bent grass, all those kind of things. Obviously, strokes gained approach is king as always. And then you can see that we've got some key ranges here that are going to take place from 125 through 200, which accounts for about 55% of the shots this week. So lots of interesting situations, pretty stock standard golf course. It's a staple on the PGA Tour. It's one of the older golf courses that has stood up to the test of time in the barrage of drivers and things like that. So it's kind of been interesting to watch it go through the motions. From a statistical perspective, how is this being adopted? So as we discussed last week, we are no longer even using 2022 stats. It's all 2023. It's about the last 5 months worth of data now. That's how we're rolling. It seems like it's doing better for us. I don't mind it at all. So screw 2022. 2023 is the year. We are going, course history here is pretty correlative. And we're going 15% there for the total weighting, 75% total stats, 10% for recent form over the last 24 rounds. 4% last approach, 24 rounds there. 5% for medium golf course scoring. This is a medium golf course scoring venue where, scores are going to be around -9, -10. And then we kind of divvying out our approach to a total of 40. We've got 5% from 550 to 100, 9% from 100 to 150, 12% from 150 to 200, and 10% from 200 plus. As you kind of saw earlier in the graphic, that's kind of where we want to live. And we've done strokes gained and good shots. So we want to see guys hitting good shots from the rough, good shots from the fairway, and we want guys that are gaining strokes all the time. 10% for putting, bent grass putting, 5% from 5 to 15 feet, and 5% in general. Strokes gained around the green, only 5%, nothing too crazy there. As we saw, it wasn't as predictive as most tour stops are. Bogey avoidance, 15%, like we discussed. Very tough golf course. Par 5 scoring averages, only 2 of them on this golf course, so only 5% there. Strokes gained off the tee, total of 20%. 8% general strokes gained off the tee. We can't really see what's going on there. Let's see if we can move it. No, we can't. Behind this box, I can scroll. We got strokes gained off the tee for 8%, 7% accuracy, 5% on strokes gained on courses less than 7,400 yards. So that's what we're doing. That's how we're rolling. And this is what's going on. The show, as always, brought to you by rotoballer.com. Spencer's out there crushing. Joe's out there crushing. I'm out here crushing on the bets now again. Things are going well. The stat buffet has been popping. That's one of my favorite premium articles that you can get out there at rotoballer.com if you use code MANIAC for 10% off. We also have my Showdown model, which has been great. We're really working on those ownership projections for Showdown. It's been a fun time working with those, and they're getting better and better, and they've been pretty on, reliable to kind of get a ballpark figure of where this ownership's going to be after each round of golf in the Showdown world. Spencer's model's available for you to download there. We've got a research station. Our Discord's been popping. It's growing over at rotoballer.com. Go and check it out today. Use Rotoballer and win like a boss. So that's what's cooking over there. We are back to the Colonial Country Club, and the model is kicking out Scotty Scheffler as the number 1 ranked golfer in the field. And I have the power rating here just so that we can discuss this real quick and then get out of this column because we got par 5 scoring not making the picture. Scotty Scheffler as a power rating is number 1 in the model, and his power rating number is 3.11. Tony Finau is second, and Victor Hovland is third at 2.08, basically the same. They both tie second. So he's a full 1 point more than those two guys in second place. Then you've got a whole bunch of dudes from 4th all the way down to 13th that encompass a full point worth of power rating. So just to put it into perspective, Scotty being a full 1 point more makes a world of sense. He's obviously the best guy in this field by a landslide. The most obvious player to win this thing is 4-1 to win the goddamn golf tournament, which is ridiculous. So minus 380 for a top 20 is nuts. You can't even get there, but you know what? Minus 380, he's done that 100% of his 9 starts. In his 9 starts this year, he's finished top 12 or better 100% of the time, which is ridiculous. His strokes gained approach stuff, strokes gained weighted first, good shot, poor shot first, all that jazz. So just wanted to share with you how severe Scotty's we can actually just leave it there. I guess we got par 5 scoring. We moved birdie or better percentage because that doesn't necessarily matter that much this week. So that's what's cooking over there. We are going to be talking about Scotty Scheffler. Let me see if I can move this a little bit. Oh my God. I got a new desk, so I'm sitting in a weird spot and my mouse is doing some weird stuff. But Scotty, he's going to be 11-5. He's number 1 in the model. A third of the field's going to own him in the DFS lineups. It makes a lot of sense. I think you just got to lock Scotty into about 70% of your lineups and kind of go from there. He's 11-5. We're going to have to get weird elsewhere with other ownership, with other DFS salaries, but we'll see what cooks. There's not much to talk about. Just lock him in and move on. We'll have to figure out how to get different. And as you can see, this 4th in the model is Sungjae Im, $9,500. That just makes the most obvious sense in the world. You go 11-5 Scotty, 9-5 Sungjae, bang, bang, and then you're sitting at a casual 60% ownership. So that's fun stuff. So yeah, probably going to have to play Sungjae in the lineups that you don't really have that much Scotty of and kind of get different elsewhere. But Tony Finau and Victor Hovland come in at the exact same power rating, which doesn't really happen that often at the top of the board, but they do. Tony, very disappointing at the PGA Championship last week. Holy cow, the guy just could not get out of the rough, could just not get it done. Shot a birdie-free 77 or 75, some ridiculous number on Sunday. Just couldn't get it done. Just not good at all. He came into the week as the number one guy in approach for the year, and now he sits just lost. He's just lost. So I don't know what's going on with Tony's game. I'm assuming he'll make a little bit of a bounce back. He's always played well here. He's second in course history at this venue, which makes a lot of sense. The guy's pretty solid off the tee, accurate, good drives gained, got a decent amount of distance, very solid there. And then, the strokes gained approach is just great for Tony. So that's what's going on with Tony. The bend putting from 5 to 15 feet, 49th in the field, not necessarily the best. You can get there, Victor, on the other hand, not nearly as tidy around the greens, typically showed some nice class at the PGA Championship. Man, he was almost took that son of a biatch down. But the ball striking from Victor's been great. Second off the tee, fourth on approach, all that jazz, cooking with gas. The putting over the last 24 rounds has been a little sketchy, but guess what? He's not too shabby from 5 to 15 feet on bent grass, which we'll be talking about again this week. Think about how many clutch putts he made down the stretch coming in. That's from 5 to 15 feet. Those are the important putts you need to make. He's 8th in the field. He's one of the best inside the top of the model here in that regard. So he's got a lot going on for him. I like what Victor can get up to. Also, 20%, the ownership is really pooling to the top of the board here. And I think you're going to have to kind of deal with a bit of it because we've got some seriously good golfers, and then it kind of plateaus off pretty quickly. Like if we kind of do the order here, you're kind of like right by, and Colin isn't even playing good golf. Max isn't even playing good golf right now. It's like, what are we actually even doing with these guys? Sam Burns is not playing good golf. He's the defending champ. So it's interesting stuff to deal with, but I think you got to pick these guys at the top. There's a few guys that are going to be very important to deal with, and I think we'll have to do that. So I don't know. I guess Tony's providing some good solid leverage, but he's 10-7. So that'll have to almost be a totally different lineup outside of Scotty, unless you want to go freaking nuts and have only like 2,800 for your next, which would be like 7K a pop for your next 4 guys, which is doable, but also kind of crazy. You'd have to go real low to kind of get some ownership leverage there, or salary relief is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I don't mind that. I don't mind Tony. Looks like Victor's going to be a bit more popular. We'll see what cooks. Obviously, a big fan of Sanjay at 9,500, fourth in the model. Guy's been playing great golf outside of majors. He just can't get it done at a non-Masters tournament, but that's okay. This is in the Masters. He's played good golf here before, 11th in the field in strokes gained. He's playing really good golf right now. I like his chances. He missed the cut, finally got himself some well-deserved rest after coming flying back from freaking wherever the hell in Asia he was, winning tournaments the week before a PGA Championship. I'm not necessarily a fan of that strategy. Didn't look like it worked out that well for him. We'll see what he can get up to. Love Sanjay. Wanted to play him in a top 20, but minus 125. Couldn't quite get us there. We'll see what cooks. I don't mind that at all. Sanjay's a solid play in the 9K range. Colin Morikawa. I was just looking at his stats before we got on here. And since coming from the West Coast, where he opened up at the Century Tournament of Champions, at the Farmers, and the Genesis, he gained putting in all 3 of those events. Since leaving the West Coast, he hasn't gained strokes putting in a single tournament that has not been in a major. He somehow, in major tournaments, gets the short game fired up. So people might be seeing, ooh, Colin's played well here in the past. Ooh, Colin actually putted well last week. Maybe there's something there. I'm telling you now that I put my money on it that Colin probably loses strokes putting this week. Now, as the number 1 strokes gained approach player in the field and one of the most accurate golfers in the field, his ball striking is going to be ridiculously good and ridiculously reliable. And he's going to just be frustratingly missing all these birdie putts he's affording himself. Now, as a bad putter, with this kind of a ball striking repertoire, there's a lot to be thought about because, Colin doesn't need to make that many birdies this week, just pounding green in regulation. So that's what you got going on there for yourselves with Colin Morikawa, 10-4, 16%. I have no idea. We've got a loaded 10K range because this field is so top heavy. You kind of got to pick your poison. I think it's going to be very ownership dependent. Jordan Spieth's coming in hot and heavy here in the sixth in the model, $9,900, 22% owned in Texas. I like to play Jordan Spieth when he's not very popular because that's just kind of how it goes. But typically, I don't know what the hell Jordan Spieth's ever up to. He's been playing great golf, got some of the best course history at this field. There's a lot to like about his game, but he's 22% owned. You know, I think if you're going to be picking and choosing, I'll play Sungjae over Spieth just because that's going to be just, I don't know why. I just like Sungjae more than Spieth. I think he's a bit more reliable, even though Spieth has been playing really good golf lately. I don't know how, with the accuracy that he has, how he plays so well at this golf course. That's the fun part. So Jordan Spieth is an anomaly. He never makes sense. And at 22% ownership, he's probably looking at being the second highest rostered golfer besides Scotty Scheffler. So maybe, you know, you just plug in Scotty and just kind of avoid the majority of this range, sprinkle a few of these guys in. Don't even have to get too frisky with ownership, trying to double up. I don't know. I don't know what the strategy is here. We'll see how this shakes out over the week. But it's not looking like there's a definite edge unless you want to play Max Homa, who's sitting at 12%. But he's also coming in with the 34th most total strokes over the last 24 rounds in the field. So outside of everyone above him, he's just hot garbage right now. Yeah. But now, 2 of those are majors. Got 8 rounds of crap golf in those last 24 rounds. So maybe things will be a bit different for him this week. I think maybe that's a nice solid leverage play. He is a good golfer at the end of the day, but the driver has been letting him down lately. Off the tee, 71st, bad. Com courses, 79th, bad. The math's checking out while people are fading him, so that's what's going on there. We did skip over somebody, and his name is Justin Rose. Justin Rose sits at $9,300, 19% owned. He's plus 150 for a top 20 on FanDuel, and we are going there for a top 20. Plus 150 on FanDuel for a top 20. Last night, there was a plus 3,300, 33-1 ticket for Justin Rose as a winner of this tournament. We picked it. We clicked on that ticket. I think there's 28s out there now across the board, pretty much most places you'll look. Justin Rose has got himself some serious pedigree at this golf course. He's got himself a win. He's got himself a T3 and a T20 in his last 3 of his last 5 appearances at this golf course. His comp course history is nutsos. If you take a look at that, comp courses that I used this week was Waialae Country Club, Harbortown Golf Links, Plantation at Seaside, and there's one other golf course that I can't quite remember right now, but whatever it is, Justin absolutely crushes at, and he's 5th in the model for comp course scoring average. So love to see that. He's also 7th in recent approach play. That's been great for him. He struggles off the tee with 91st distance. There's only 120 people in the field, remember? So we don't necessarily think that that's big of a deal this week. His accuracy is 22nd. His good drives gain is 9th. Lots to like there. You take a look at his approach stats. He avoids bad shots on approach very well. He's 11th in the field in that department. Then you take a look at putting on bent grass. Over the last 50 rounds, he's 5th in the field. Yes, the 5 to 15 feet is a bit of a disappointing stat there considering how good he is on bent. It's 37th, but it could be worse. Also, 5th in general strokes gained on bent is amazing. He's been playing great golf. He just finished 9th at a PGA championship that he had no business playing well at. Off the tee, distance off the tee was a paramount prerequisite, and we'll see what he can get up to. So I'm not necessarily sure why you don't have Justin Rose on your betting card this week, especially at those numbers. Everybody else is sitting around 14-ish to 1. Take a look at his recent performances, 7th in the field as well. We are going to be getting to Chris Kirk here soon. My man Ryan Hickey in the house. If you aren't following Fantasy Bunker on Twitter, go and do that as we are cooking with gas. But I'll give you, you're jumping off soon. Okay, cool. I will give you a Chris Kirk situation. At $9,100 and the odds of plus 145 for a top 20 weren't quite anywhere to be desired for Chris Kirk. He's not necessarily popping for me as hard as we would expect. He was very solid last week, for a top 40 market, but there's a few things that he's not necessarily doing that great. And it's just a little bit, the approach play's been lacking lately. The putting's been lacking a little bit. There's a bit of a lack of upside over the last little while there. The driving is fine, but I don't know. It's just, there's not a lot going on for Chris Kirk. I think at $9,100, 12%, I guess there's 82% made cut rate. That's not bad, but at $9,100, gonna need some love, some serious juice, like a Justin Rose kind of situation where Justin Rose at 93. I know it's a pivot and about 2/3 of the ownership, but are you really getting what you're looking for? So I don't know if that ownership keeps creeping down, though. I don't mind Chris Kirk, but the markets aren't necessarily giving us any value at that price, even that ownership. And, on the betting market, there's not much to be desired. So that's Chris Kirk's situation there for you, Mr. Hickey. I hope you appreciate that. Yeah, nothing. I'm just like in between. It is what it is kind of situation. I know it's a very overly used and poor phrasing there, but that's what's going on. Like a Max Homer it's like the same thing, but $1,000 cheaper. There's just not a lot going on in these guys' games. But although Chris Kirk has been playing better than Max, so that's what's going on. I don't know what to tell you, man. Ricky Fowler finds himself 9th in the model. And this is why I had to get rid of 2023. Because if you got Ricky Fowler 2023 in there, the guy's not even close to being 9th in the model. And he deserves to be. Over the last 24 rounds, he's been crushing. He's 9th in the field in recent form. Medium golf course scoring. 4th in the field. The guy's been on fire. Good shot percentages on approach. 6th in the field. Means he's gaining over half a stroke on an approach shot as the 6th best player in the field in that department. He's pretty solid in good drives gained, 30th. He's got pretty decent course history here if you go and look at what he got up to a long time ago. We've got course history in here for only like the last 5 or 4 events at Colonial. When Ricky was playing good golf, the guy was crushing out at Colonial. So he can play this golf course well. And look at that safety rating. In his 10 starts this year, Ricky has made 90% of his cuts. 90% of his cuts, old Ricky Fowler. Ridiculous stuff. 60% of the time, he's been inside the top 20. And that brings us, friends, to our first matchup, which is Ricky Fowler over a Mr. Samuel Burns at plus 100 on DraftKings. So we got Ricky over Sam at plus 100. And if you take a look at what these two guys have been up to, let's pull them up side by side here real quick. Okay, because the contrast is stark. And it's scary because, we are dealing with a guy that won here last year. And course history correlation is pretty accurate at this venue. But Sam Burns pretty much won this thing by getting himself into a playoff by recording a great Sunday round, gaining 4 strokes putting that day before Scotty Scheffler basically even teed off. And then the winds picked up in the afternoon and he kind of luck boxed his way into that playoff and then drained another massive putt on Scotty from like off the green to win it. So the putter is going to be there for Sam. Then we've got a situation on our hands. If it doesn't show up early in the first 2 rounds, we've got a guy that's 67th in recent approach and 94th around the greens. Green and regulation rates are lower than to our average here. Sam Burns is 94th out of 120 around the green, and he's below average, 67th out of 120 on approach recently. His good shot, poor shot ratings, he's losing over half a stroke, 100th in the field. So there's 99 guys that are losing less strokes on approach than he does, like less bad shots. The putting is always great. The distance off the tee, Sam Burns, he can dominate with the driver. He can really get it going. But we're fading him. The model's got him at 36th. Ricky's sitting in 9th. The defending champ sitting at $9,700, 10% owned. So, if you take a look at what Sam gets up to, It's scary stuff, but you're getting plus money on Ricky Fowler, plus 100 on DraftKings for a matchup against Sam. Ricky has been making 90% of his cuts. Sam's only been making 60% of his cuts. Top 20 rate, 60% versus 40%. So Ricky's got him beat in all of the most important departments. And Ricky's even a good putter too. So like if this is a bit of a putting contest, we've got that. But Ricky has been really solid on approach. So I really like that. And approach is king in our model. And that's why Ricky's kind of a little bit up there. But Sam's approach game has just been drastically and horrifically bad this year. There's a good chance if that putter doesn't show up, because he has doesn't necessarily gain 1.5 strokes per round. He'll gain like half a stroke, 1 stroke, whatever, 4. If that 4 doesn't show up early, he could easily land up missing the cut. And Lord help us as we hit this clear filter button, because it has been something of a bit of a disaster. Every time I've clicked the button, it's frozen my computer. And here we are back with it moving for us, and things are looking rosy. Good signs for the Ricky Fowler matchup against Sam Burns and plus 100 on DraftKings. Go check it out for yourself. Climb into that matchup. We kicked ass in the matchup last week. Cam Davis over Minwoo Lee. So that was fun. Max Homa. What are we doing with Max Homa? I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. I can't tell you. This whole top of the board has just got me in a frazzle. I don't know what to do. There's no clear-cut favorite amongst all these other guys that aren't Scotty Scheffler. So I don't know. We'll keep scrolling down the board to a $7,800, 10th in the model. Brendan Todd would like your attention, please. At plus 200 for a top 20, we are signing ourselves up for Mr. Todd Father. Brendan Todd, also 85-1 on FanDuel to win this goddamn tournament. Let's go, Brendan Todd. Why do we like him for an outright? Why do we like him for a top 20? Well, he's got himself a T3 and an 8th place at this golf course the last 2 times he's played. Hello. Course history. Fantastic. Look at that. 5th in the field. Comp courses. The courses that we thought very representative of how a golfer would be playing at a venue like this. He's 26th in the field. So got a decent comp course history. But he's got a really good course history here. Those last 2 starts have been 3rd and 8th. Love to see that. Medium golf course scoring, 16th in the field. He enters the week as the number 1 short game strokes gainer. So yes, he's been struggling on approach, but we've been playing some big boy golf courses. Wells Fargo, the PGA Championship at Oak Hill. That's like 15,000 yards combined yardage that Brendan Todd, the guy that's 116th out of 120 people in distance, has to deal with. So you've been playing good stuff. Accuracy, though, for Todd, 6th in the field. Yes, let's go. Good drives gained, 31st. Love to see that. Now we go to a golf course that rewards accuracy off the tee. When guys are going to be hitting less than driver, he can continue to step on that driver, hit it accurately down the fairway, find himself in the same proximity areas as these other people. The average driving distance is ridiculously lower here compared to other places on PGA Tour. Around the green, he's typically solid. 3rd in the field in bent grass putting. 2nd in the field in bent grass from 5 to 15 feet. Bogey avoidance rate, 16th. Love to see these kinds of things. There's a lot of the tools that you're looking for from freaking Brendan Todd. $7,800, 10% owned. People like him. So do we. Plus 200 for a top 20 at BetMGM. Iowa's back up now. Put the word out on the street. We back up. BetMGM's now got placement bets again. They just show up with these bets out of nowhere. Like they left me hanging high and dry to start the year. They said we're not allowed to give placement bets in Iowa. Now, all of a sudden, they back. Placement bets are in. Let's go. They pay ties out in full. FanDuel robs you. You don't want to be dealing with that nonsense. If you get within 30 points of another book on BetMGM, pull the trigger on BetMGM. Even if you're sacrificing a few points, I typically think about 30 points is the magic number for me. Some people say 40 to 50. It's up to you. We'll see what cooks. But Brendan Todd, only T20s are about 18% of the time in his 11 starts. But those are big boy golf tournaments that he's been playing at. This golf course suits him perfectly. I love what he can get up to here. Let's freaking go, Brendan Todd. 85-1 to win this thing. Freaking hell. Plus 200 for a top 20. Sign us the hell up. Sign us the hell up. Next up in the model, little rogue agent at the top of the board here. We got Akshay Bhatia in 11th in the model ranking. He hasn't played necessarily that many rounds of golf. So his stuff's a little bit skewed because we've got the weighted strokes gained here sitting second. Woo! It's fiery. What he has shown us so far on approach is hot, second in the field this year. Nice stuff. Green regulation rates, good shots. Very, very nice. Second, and eighth in those departments. Love to see it. Over the last 24 rounds, he's 11th strokes gained. Love to see that. The around the green and the putting. A little bit of a question mark for him. Not a little bit of a question mark. A big question mark. But that's okay. Around the green play here. I know we talked about Sam Burns struggling around the greens, but Akshay is a much better iron player than Sam. And we also have Akshay, who's actually pretty accurate off the tee. Good drives gained, first in the field so far. So there's a lot to be enjoyed over here from Akshay. And he's 500, plus 500 for a top 20 at FanDuel. So sign us up there for a plus 500 top 20 for Akshay. He hasn't had too many. He played really well in Mexico, almost won the goddamn thing if it weren't for Tony Finau and John Rahm. But he plays nicely. And then if you think, I'm taking mini samples from his profile, because Akshay gained over a stroke per round in the 2 rounds he played at the RBC Heritage, which is a bit of a calm course for Akshay. He missed the cut there because of the around the green play. But he was stellar. He hit 89% of his fairways in both rounds at RBC Heritage. So he's very capable of hitting 250-yard shots into the fairway and getting it in play quite easily. And then you just dominate because his long iron play is solid and then the iron play is solid. So he's going to be hitting a lot more greens than most people. Brian's in the house. He says he loves the 20. We've got a decent field at the top. I agree, dude. We got some fun stuff going on. I was just bitching about not knowing what to do at the top. So we'll see how the ownership shakes out. I'm not entirely sure what we're doing, but what we are doing is betting Akshay Bhatia for a top 20 plus 500 and an outright at at 250 to 1. 250 to 1 to win this goddamn thing. Who the hell knows? It's a sprinkle. It's a cupcake. Throw a cherry on the top there. Cost you basically nothing to get yourself in the mixture at 250 to 1 to win the tournament. I love what he got up to off the tee at the RBC Heritage. I know it's only 2 rounds of golf, but if he can ball strike this place into bedazzlement, we'll see what he can get up to with the short game. It popped a little bit in Mexico. Maybe it rolls again here. So that's what's cooking with Akshay. He's $6,700, 6% owned. Seems like a very popular play. I think everyone's sought after that approach play that he's been flashing for us so far on the PGA Tour. Very exciting golfer. Great guy. He's born. So fun fact about this tournament, you win some sort of a muscle car that's been restored. This year, it's a 1973 Ford Bronco that will be given to the winner. Akshay Bhatia was born 29 years after that car came into existence. He could win a car that it's been around for longer than he has, which is freaking awesome. So hopefully he can take it down, see what he can get up to. Akshay Bhatia plus 500 for a top 20 on FanDuel as well. $8,100 is Steven Yeager, and he's been hitting bombs. He's been crushing on approach and off the tee, but he cannot freaking putt. Steven Yeager is incapable of making anything decent on the greens, although recently he's had one good round in 4 that's kind of got him up the leaderboard a little bit. But his recent performance over the last 24 rounds is 20th in the field. Guy's been balling out. I know Spencer, my boy Teal Sports at Rotoballer, had him for a top 20 or a top 40, and the guy fell from like 14th or something on Sunday, all the way outside of the top 40. Bit of a meltdown there. It was brutal stuff, but he's back at it again, $8,100, 9% owned. We'll see what Yeager can get up to. He's 9% though for an $8,100 golfer. But again, it's not 160 golfers this week. It's 120. So there's a far less amount to choose from. I'm kind of impartial on Yeager. I mean, look at the safety. In 13 starts, he's made 85% of his cuts. I mean, how can you pass that up for an $8,100 baller golfer? We'll talk about it. There is somebody that I'd rather go to instead of Yeager. And his name, friends, is Christian Bezotted. Rambo, as they call him back home. The boy I grew up playing golf with. The guy who's just announced that he's about to have a baby with his wife. Things are popping for him. If you take a look over here, friends, 5th in the field. 5th in the field. And I'm just going to filter. I'm going to tempt the gods again. We're going to sort by smallest to largest and take a look at strokes gained approach. In this field that Brian said, decent field at the top. I agree. We got strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds. First, Colin Morikawa. Second, Scotty Scheffler. Tony Finau in third. Victor Hovland in fourth. Those are some premium ball strikers. And then we've got Christian Bezotted in fifth. This guy is absolutely turned his iron game around. And the fun fact about this is the last 24 rounds. If you take a look at his last 18, which is when he changed his coach at the Players, and that's when everything kind of clicked for him, he's been balling out. So he needs 1 or 2 more tournaments to get a full 24 rounds of his new iron play in shape. And then we are cooking with gas. So he's 5th in the field of extremely good ball strikers in strokes gained approach recently. He typically loses off the tee because he doesn't have distance. But guess what? Old Bezzy, 21st in the field in accuracy. And since his irons have been dialed, he's been hitting fairways at a 70% clip. If you take a look at what he's been up to, I think at Harbour Town, he hit 80% of his fairways. So there's a lot of good things. Like going to this golf course, he's going to be just fine off the tee. He's probably not going to lose nearly as much strokes as he typically does. Potentially with his accuracy, could even land up gaining. Then he's 5th in the field in strokes gained approach. So you know how much that turns me on. And then we screwed all the way over here to bent grass putting over the last 50 rounds. From 5 to 15 feet and in general, Christian Bezotted is the number 1 strokes gainer on bent grass putting. Number 1. Dos, -1. Uno. That's the number I was looking for, is uno. He is the guy on these greens. Yes, he lost -4 strokes putting at the PGA Championship in 1 round. That's 1 round. We're not going to care about it. He played really nicely at the Byron Nelson putting-wise. Let's see what he can get up to. Also, if you take a look at his course history, he missed the cut in the first go-round and then finished 15th here last year. So he gained on approach last year. He gained putting last year. So he likes his greens. He wasn't even nearly as good of an iron player as he is now. And he gained, I think, in all 4 rounds that he played when he finished 15th. So there is so much to like about Bezzy's game going into this week. And he's plus 320 on FanDuel for a top 20. He's also 90-1 to win this golf tournament out at Bed Rivers. I think there's 80s now. 85s. I don't know what the enhanced odds is looking like. When I got it, it was a 90. Love Bezzy as an outright chance this week. He's won 3 times on the European Tour. He hasn't really played a golf course that's really suited his game nearly as much as this. You know, Harbour Town was nice, but also not bent grass greens. Byron Nelson, you know, doesn't have the length of the tee. Last week, also doesn't like the length of the tee is a big issue. But he gained on approach last week again in both rounds. He improved his strokes gained last week again off approach. So his iron play is just through the roof right now. I'm obsessed with him. 18th in Comcourse scoring averages. Love that. So you know that this kind of venue suits him. Let's go Bezzy. Plus 320 for a top 20. And I also put half a unit on Bezzy for a top 10 at plus 750. Woo! Almost double what Scotty Scheffler is to win this tournament. We'll see what he can get up to. Now, Bezzy hasn't got a top 10 on his record yet, and neither does Ricky Fowler. He's got top T10s, but not inside the top 10. We'll see what he can get up to, though. But the recent performances have been so solid. Outside of the PGA Championship, it's all been top 30s. I love what this golf course can do for him. Let's go. This is a perfect storm. Course history, recent form, great greens, just the irons are surging. Just announced that he's having a baby. It's full on Bezzy on deck. Let's freaking go. $7,700. We're locking his ass into our lineups. I don't care what the ownership is. I'm just kidding. Obviously, ownership's a problem, but we don't mind it at 9% for a guy that's playing as well as he is. Now he's probably getting steamed because of this approach play and the putting. So we'll see what happens. Monitor the ownership. We'll see. But I'll take him over Chris Kirk when Chris Kirk's 14% more and 3% more owned. $1,400 more and 3% more owned. Now we get up to Brian Harman, a dude who is kind of gone down in history a little bit. Last year, I think he was like 22% owned or some ridiculous 16 to the number of ownership. The amount of people that had Brian Harman in their lineups last year was through the roof. He missed the cut. But even with that missed cut, he's got the 10th best scores history. Scoring average course history. 10th best. Com courses, 19th. Recently off the tees, 18th. And he's 81st in distance off the tee. So he is hyper accurate off the tee as third in accuracy there. And then he's just okay on bent grass greens. But his bogey avoidance rate, he's second in the field. Like, there's so much to like about Brian Harman. And I'm cool going to him here at $8,200. Sign me up for Brian Harman. He's 15th in the model, $8,200. Let's go. Now, the safety is all over the place. He had a really rough start to the year. It is what it is. Recently, he's kind of been getting it together. I like his chances this week. He had no chance last week on that long-ass wet golf course or whatever. We'll see what he can get up to. I like his chances here. He's kind of a situation similar to Bezzy. The irons are not nearly in the same place, but the driving's great, and he just typically plays well here. So that's what's cooking with Brian Harman. I don't mind him at all at $8,200. Tom Hoge, oh boy. What do we do when it comes to you, old Tom Hoge? Course history, course history, all ass. He is one of the best iron players in the field. But that means diddly squat because this guy makes about 2/3 of his cuts as one of the best iron players in the world. He just somehow doesn't get it done. So no, we are not playing Tom Hoge this week. I don't like him. I can't get there. Aaron Rai is going to probably pop in a few models because of accuracy off the tee. The model also told us to bet Aaron Rai at plus 120 for a top 40. But now, if you take a look at Aaron Rai's top 40 rate, it's only 23%. And at plus 120, that just doesn't match up to me. 23% needs to be about 350, 400, plus 400 to kind of get to that kind of top 20 situation, especially if you got good course history. Like, I know we did it with Tom Hoge where his top 20 rate's not the Brendan Todd, sorry. His top 20 rate's 18%. But if you take a look at the course history and the course history, that's kind of helping us get there. And it's plus 200. Freaking Aaron Rai, 120 for a guy that's not really doing that much all the time. So I don't know. $77,000, 4% owned. Do what you want with Aaron Rai. I'm not necessarily there. Russell Henley's going to be chalk again this week. $8,800, 13% owned. I guess not too shabby considering we've got a bunch of guys that are pretty close to him in price that aren't going to be there. But Russell Henley, over the last 24 rounds, is outperforming his general baseline this year. He's not playing a lot of tournaments, so that last 24 rounds spans way back to the start of time, basically. And it's been pretty good since. Leads the field in accuracy off the tee. His poor shot avoidance rate is bananas good. And then he is, ladies and gentlemen, the worst putter on bent grass. So that's fun for you. His course history is 40th in the field. So I think we're out, despite how well he is hitting his irons at $8,800, 13% owned. The putting is catastrophically bad. Like, there's 120 people in the field. He putts worse than everybody. So that's what Russell Henley's situation is. And what's going on there? So the course history, not nearly as good as you'd like. There are guys right beneath him that have exceptional course history, like Andrew Putnam, who is $7,100 and 8% owned. And he finds himself with the 9th best course history in the field, and it makes a lot of sense. Cue the Will Farrell gift. The math checks out for Andrew Putnam. Accuracy off the tee, 17th in the field. Green and regulation rates, 25th from the various proximities we're going to experience at Colonial Country Club. Bogey avoidance, 3rd in the field. Low scoring average at this golf course, or low, they don't go very low. The score to pars are, I don't even know how to describe this. -9 is what they kind of get to for a winner, whereas other golf tournaments get to -25. Byron Nelson, that kind of crap. So love what Andrew Putnam can get up to. $7,100. Course history course history is great. Course history not so great. The recent off the tee stuff, shit. But the distance is 112th in a 120-man field, so that's not good. We're going to see the accuracy come into play again this week. So a lot to like. Ben putting, the last 50 rounds, 19th in the field. Now the 5 to 15 feet is a bit of a concern from 74. It is what it is. So we'll see what goes on, but I don't mind Andrew Putnam. And then Emiliano Grillo, $7,700. He's in the field. You know, our boy Grillo was retweeting my outright picks for him to win the Sanderson Farms and was busy much doing that until he got to the par 5 and made a snowman. So that was freaking fun. But anyway, we're not venting about that today. Strokes gained approach, 15th in the field. Bang. Grillo playing great golf again. Putting. Over the last 24 rounds, Emiliano Grillo is 11th in the field in putting. So the two most important things, in my opinion, this week, putting and approach play. Yes, if you can keep your accuracy and stuff together, it is what it is. Most of these guys are going to be able to just kind of club down and get it in play for the most part, unless you're atrociously bad in that department. But accuracy, good distance, and good drives gained, all sitting around 42 to 32nd. Love what he can do off the tee. Very solid there. The good shot rates, 15th, gaining over half a stroke on the field with only 14 guys doing it better. The putting, it's just hot and cold. You know, you got him as 11th best putter over the last 24 rounds, yet he's 86th on bent grass greens over the last 50. You know, but I don't mind it. He's playing good golf. Things are kind of turning around for him. He's my boy. He's our boy. He's awesome to root for. Let's see what he can get up to. I think a little guy is kind of sneaking along under the radar. I had to adjust his stats in the model because the PGA Tour website doesn't have Ryan Fox's stats. But if you take a peek at what he's been up to, he, in his 5 starts on the PGA Tour, has made the top 40 in 4 of them, 80% of the time. Last 24 rounds, he's 18th in the field in strokes gained total. He bombs it off the tee, 7th in the field. Now, that's okay. Iron play, the good shot rates is very bad for Ryan Fox, but the poor shot avoidance rate is very good, which is really interesting. I don't know how we got 121 in there, but we do. There's only 120 in the one in the field. So Ryan Fox is going to be a bit of a sneaky contrarian play. I don't mind him at all. We'll see what he can get up to. Tommy Fleetwood is 22nd in the model because Tommy Fleetwood sucks at putting on bent grass greens. 93rd and 95th from 5 to 15 feet and in general on bent grass greens. His bogey avoidance rate is 51st because he can't make a goddamn par putt on bent grass greens. He crushed it on putting last week over the weekend, but it was when he was like not even near contention. When Tommy Fleetwood finds himself close to the top of the leaderboard on a Sunday, eject button. He just dwindles down the leaderboard. I don't know. I don't have confidence. Look at that top 20 rate, 44th. It's pretty solid. Safety is pretty solid. Strokes gained total is pretty solid. But the upside for Tommy Fleetwood, to me, is very much lacking. And I know you can make the same argument for Christian Bezotted. But Bezzy, with a putter, has way more of a chance of just having an outlier week and just popping and gaining an exorbitant amount of strokes on the greens than what Tommy Fleetwood does. So we're going to kind of hitch our wagon to that and go there. Also, Tommy's $9,200, 17% owned. You know, that's a lot of stuff. We're kind of just going to leave Tommy Fleetwood alone. Next up in the yellow, his name is Denny McCarthy. And we are going to sign him up here and kind of do a little another matchup situation. We're going to do a Denny McCarthy versus a certain Min Hoo Lee. We also kicked out a model for a Siwoo versus a Minwoo on the matchup front. So we'll actually just look at it here to start off with. And if you want to bet both, feel free. Unfortunately, they're not at the same book, so you can't really parlay them together, but they are minus 135 and minus 164 for these guys. So in order to win your 20 back for Denny McCarthy, you'd have to bet 32.80. And for Siwoo, you're going to have to bet 27. So the juice is there. But Minwoo Lee's power rating is not nearly as good as these other two guys. The safety plus top 20 rate is not nearly as good as these other two guys, particularly Denny. That's kind of why we're just rolling with him in the Breaking 100 article. I don't mind Siwoo. It gives you a nice little cheaper option. He's also been playing good golf lately. The course history here is not very good. But we're going to take a peek at what Minwoo Lee does, because we are sure as shit not going to be getting to him if we're going down the list of the model, because he sits in 95th. Yes, he's had two really good tour. He finished really well at the Players and then really well last week, but our boy Cam Davis still took him down, which was awesome. If you take a look at Minwoo Lee's strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds, 117th in the field. Very bad. The putting, 7th in the field. Around the green play, 24th in the field. So there's a lot of short game brilliance. And the distance off the tee is 3rd, which was also last week. He was relying on that a lot. But the approach play is disgustingly bad. Disgustingly bad. And over the last 7 starts, he's missed 4 cuts. So the 3 that he has played well in, he's made a top 20 in 1 or 2 of them now, I think. So there's this stuff that goes on with him, and the approach game is bad, but the short game is good. So if he has a bad short game day with this kind of approach play, he can easily miss this cut. Whereas you take a peek at what Denny McCarthy's been up to over his 11 starts, making 82% of cuts, top 40, 3 out of 4 times in his 11 starts. He's basically finishing inside the top 40, and almost half the time it's a top 20. So Denny McCarthy is just out here crushing. 23rd in the model, not necessarily picking up enough of his recent performances because his baseline's holding him back a bit. But bent grass putting is 28th in the field. Bogey avoidance is 10th. So much to like about Denny McCarthy. I don't mind paying 160, minus 163 for a Denny McCarthy bet over Minwoo Lee over at FanDuel. If you want to do Siwoo, you can do Siwoo as well. Let's add him to the mix and kind of take a peek at what's going on between those two and kind of decide. That's summary. That's not Siwoo at all. So Siwoo is the guy we want to add and figure out why we like him. So Siwoo's sitting in 28th in the model, and he's also safety rating. 3 out of 4 cuts he makes in his last 13 starts. So a lot of enjoyable stats there. Now, the problem with Siwoo is his top 20 rating is 15% of the time. So nothing too crazy on the upside things, but he's pretty reliable for the most part when it comes to making the cut. Does that about 8 out of 10 times. The bogey avoidance rate is 14th in the field. Love to see that. He's very accurate off the tee. Good drives gains, great stuff. So he gains off the tee despite being 76th in the field in distance. The course history is pretty shoddy. He hasn't necessarily, I think he had a WD during one of the tournaments and he missed the cut, and I think another 2. But he's also played well in Texas. I think he played really nicely at the Byron Nelson, and he also made a massive comeback at the Valero because he made an 8 out of the bunker. Hit like thinned one out of bounds and made like a ridiculous 8. Pretty much almost missed the cut. Bounced back and fought his way up the leaderboard over the weekend. So a lot to like from those two guys. $9,000 Siwoo Kim at $2,800, 8% owned. He's providing a bit of leverage in the higher ranges there. The upside is lacking. I like Denny McCarthy a little bit more in this price point. That's what's cooking in that department. So those are 2 matchups. Minus 135 for Woo over Woo. Woo versus Woo. The Woo-Woo, Ric Flair. Pitchy Woo-Woo. I think Scott Van Pelt would be proud of that one. But that's what's going on. Then we also want Denny McCarthy minus 163, 164 over Minwoo Lee, who cannot hit an iron to save his life. So that's what's cooking. Then the next bet we have on the board. We're cooking here at Back 9 Bets. We've got lots of bets, lots of fun stuff. Taylor Moore finds himself at minus 125 at BetMGM. You can get even money, plus 100 at FanDuel for a top 40 on Taylor Moore. Now, if you take a gander at Taylor Moore's safety rating, it's 83rd in the field. 83rd, 83% of the time he's making the cut, which is basically a top 40. But 75% of the time, he's finishing inside the top 40 over his last 12 starts. So the math is 9. Over those 12, he's finished inside the top 40 9 times. Minus 125, ties paid out in full for Taylor Moore to do a thing that he's done 75% of the time. Yeah, I mean, that seems, look, it could land up losing, but to me, that just seems like the best value on the board. I know we're getting minus money. You can grab a plus 100 over at FanDuel. A little better there. You can put your 20 down to make 20 versus having to bet 25 to make your 20. But you know what I'm saying. You'd rather take a bit of safety on the top 40 market just in case he finishes like T39 and you get dead heated to Crapsville on FanDuel side of things. So I don't mind that at all. The comp course history for Taylor Moore is 7th. So the course history is 85th, but Taylor Moore is not the same golfer that he was last year. So when he did play this golf course, he wasn't nearly the guy he is now. Over the last 24 rounds, he's 16th in the field in recent form. Holy cow, is his iron play solid. Green regulation rates, great. Good shot rates, 10th in the field. Really good putter. The bent grass green over the last 50, not the best. But also you must remember, we haven't seen that many bent grass tournaments recently. You know, we're starting to collect them now as we make our way through Texas. You know, last week, all that jazz. But he's not the same golf anymore. If you take a look at his recent putting, it's 6th in the field. 6th in the field. So there's a lot to like about his game for a top 40. I absolutely love it. And at $8,000, I'll probably be playing him in DFS as well. Then we scoot down the board to Nate Lashley at plus 160 for a top 40. He has made a top 40 in his last 50% of starts in the last 12. So 6 of those have been a top 40. Guess what? 4 of them have been his last 4 starts. Old nasty Nate is just cooking with gas right now. Off the tee is a bit crappy, but I think it's got to do with his distance. He's pretty solid on the good drives gain in 24th. But if you take a look at his recent approach, it sits there in 12th. Absolutely desirable. 12th in this field in strokes gained approach for Nasty Nate at $6,900, 4% owned, plus 160 at BetMGM, ties paid in full for a top 40. He's done that the last 4 times he's teed it up. Let's go, Nate Lashley. Let's go, bro. Green regulation rate for Nate Lashley, weighted 5th. Bogey avoidance rate, 23rd. So, like, yeah, let's go there. Like, a lot to like. The putting and around the green play is just average, which is fine for someone that we're betting a top 40 on who's this good of an iron player. I love a good iron player for a top 40 bet because the rest of their game can be pretty crap, but the iron play is still probably going to be good enough, hopefully, to just get him inside the top 40. Regardless, he's been striking the crap out of the golf ball. Sign us up for old Nate Lashley, plus 160 at BetMGM to get his 5th straight top 40 this week. Let's go. Austin Eckroat crushed it at the Byron Nelson, played some good stuff, got a nice comp course history inside the top 30. Off the tee, pretty tidy, good accuracy, good drives gained, all that jazz. He's $6,700 popping in the model. This is one of the first $6,000 guys that's not named Akshay Bhatia to show up in the model. So we don't mind talking about him. He's 5% owned. That makes a lot of sense. He's popping up in my model. I'm sure he's popping up in a few other people's models too. What's he been up to? Well, the last 24 rounds, I guess 53rd, not too shabby, whatever. The bent grass greens. This is what we like about Eckroat. 11th in the field in putting on bent grass greens. Yes, let's go there. We haven't really seen him pop on the putting front yet recently, so maybe he can take care of that. Eric Cole sits here in 27th in the model. Chalky, $7,200 guy, 10% owned. The recent performance has been great. The around the green play is the main contributor to his recent strokes gained total that sits 25th in the field. So I don't know. I think, the strokes gained on approach from a weighted perspective is 21st in the field. He does pretty solid avoiding bad shots. Also, he's a pretty solid putter on this bent grass surfaces, and bogey avoidance rate is pretty nuts. So there's a lot to be liked from Eric Cole's side of things, but I think at $7,200, 10% owned. If you are playing a few other chalky guys we've already discussed, I don't necessarily know if we want to go there. I think we do have other options like Nate Lashley, like Austin Eckroat, we will go to instead of 7,200, 10% own it. Holy cow. I'll take a Hayden Buckley over an Eric Cole. And I'll take a Hayden Buckley, thank you very much, for a 100-1 shot at winning this freaking tournament. He sits 29th in the model. Yes, I know. Why are we betting on a guy that's 29th in the model? Well, because if you take a look at that comp course history, since Hayden Buckley's got his stuff figured out, he's first in the field in strokes gained average across the comp courses we have. Those include Wildlife Country Club. He finished second. Harbour Town this year, T5. Hello. If you take a look at off the tee stuff for Hayden Buckley baseline, second in the field, a little double dose of 24 action, distance and accuracy off the tee gets you to second in total driving. So he's got a beautiful combination of poise and power off the tee box, and it works out wonderfully for him. So if we are going to be avoiding the fairway traps, the trees along the side of the fairways, as a Hayden Buckley, it allows you to really work the golf ball on approach, and that's been 18th in the field over the last little while. So he's doing some nice things there on approach. If you take a look at his good shot rate, it's 9th in the field. So this guy's 100-1. He's putting in around the green plays 45th and 106th. So that's a bit crap. And the bent grass putting is pretty crap too. But he gained 2.5 strokes putting on bent grass greens at the PGA Championship last week. Finished T22nd, T26th. He's got some motivation. He's got some confidence. He was playing with Cam Smith on Sunday. That can only inspire you, and it inspires me. So that's what's going on with Hayden Buckley. I love his ball striking. At 100-1, sign me up for the second best driver of the golf ball in the field behind Scotty Scheffler, which is, whatever. If Scotty wins this week, we all die. But at 100-1, we got it going. The two comps, Harbour Town and Waialae, 2nd and 5th. Two very tighter, shorter golf courses where his driver can he's so accurate with the driver and this length. He can just take control of that golf ball off the tee. Love what he can get up to this week. Sign me up for Hayden Buckley at $7,300. I'll take him over whatchamacallit, 10% dude earlier that we were talking. Eric Cole. Give me Hayden Buckley instead. That's what's cooking there. Scooting down the board. So we've got Hayden Buckley. We've got Christian Bezotted, Brendan Todd, Akshay Bhatia, and Justin Rose as our outrights. I think that takes care of the majority of our bets. We're going to keep scooting down the board here. I know we're slightly over time, over the hour, but that's okay. It's my podcast. I can do what I want. It's also your time, so we'll try and get there soon. But some other guys we kind of want to take a peek at. Some guys further down the board. Sam Burns, all the way in 36th in the model, man. Look at this. It's terrible stuff. Mark Hubbard, 3% owned. We've been preaching about goddamn Mark Hubbard early in the season. That's when we had 22 stats in there. Now he's 17th in the field in strokes gained approach. He's doing his thing. Good shot percentages of 21st in the field. That's what's going on there. He's a good bent grass putter. He's $6,600, 3% owned. Mark Hubbard. A little risky, makes about 54% of his cuts. But when he does, he's 38% of the time he's inside the top 40. So that's not too shabby from Mark Hubbard for a guy that's $6,600. That's not the worst. It's not the worst thing in the world. Why is Grayson Sigg popping at $6,300? His good shot rate is pretty dandy. It's a lot of good shots from these various proximities that we spoke about earlier in the show. And he avoids the poor shots too. The strokes gain is 55th, but that's interesting how those two numbers don't quite equate to getting anywhere near the same strokes gained approach number. He's also pretty solid on bent grass greens, compared to the rest of his putting, which has been horse dung over the last 24 rounds at 111th. So that's not good. But the accuracy of the tee is 44th. The good drives gains 38th. Like to see that from this guy. So if you're looking for a $6,300 punt who makes the cut 43% of the time, you've got yourself a Grayson cigarette over there. Light it up. Let's go. Sam Stevens, ball striking phenom. 26th in recent performances, 19th off the tee, 23rd on approach recently. Love to see all that jazz. The good drives gain sitting at 29th, and the good shot rate for a guy that is $7,100 is 11th. So there's some good options down here. I know the putting is atrocious, but holy cow, it's bad. But also Sam Stevens, 64% of made cuts in his 11 starts. Not the worst thing in the world. Let's talk about Joseph Bramlett as well, $7,100, 75% of his made cuts. Love what's going on with Brammy Dammy. And the green and regulation rate seems to be pumping up for him there. Good shot rates, proximity-wise, that's nice. I don't know. You know, Broseph Jamlet out there just doing his thing. $7,100, 5% owned. Scooting down. Oh, yeah, we go. Two guys I really like. Nick Hardy. No, I'm not going there. Nick Taylor, I don't mind at all. He's just a really well-rounded golfer. Kind of let me down at the PGA last week. $7,200, 9%. That's a value there, in my opinion. Plays medium golf course as well. Around the green and putting, pretty solid typically, but a 9% ownership at $7,200 is ridiculous. Let's talk about these two guys quickly. Aaron Baddeley and Robbie Shelton. Aaron Baddeley has made 78% of his 9 starts, cut-wise. 78% of the time he's making the cut. He's $6,400. Also, if you take a look at what he does badly, it's drive the ball. 111th of the last 24 rounds. Distance-wise, he's 117th. But the accuracy gets up to 57th. And then you get to around the green play, where he's 4th in the field. You get to putting, where he's 39th in bend putting over the last 50. And his bogey avoidance rate, because he's so good around the greens, is 4th in the field. So that's fun. We go into a golf course that you don't have to make a million birdies at. You go into a golf course that you're going to be having to get up and down for par a lot. Aaron Baddeley can do that for you at 2%, $6,400. Robbie Shelton, also very good around the greens, 10th in the field around the greens, very solid on medium golf course scoring, 15th so far since he's joined the PGA Tour. The rest of his game, the strokes gained approach, good and poor shot avoidance and make rates are sitting at 48th and 40th. Nothing too crazy there, but his bogey avoidance rate, some of these guys don't really make much sense why they do the things they do, because like none of the metrics are really popping here outside of around the green play. But the bogey avoidance rate is 33rd in the field for Robbie Shelton at $6,400. He's 4% owned, so people are kind of paying attention to him there. Danny Willett, you can make the same argument. Good around the green play, all that jazz. So these guys are all $6,400. We'll see what they can get up to. Eric Van Rooyen's comp course history is 3rd in the field. So he's been doing some good things on other golf courses similar to this. There's a lady walking past my window with a pink hat on. So I guess pink box, pink hat, lady walking by. I think that's an omen to play some Eric Van Rooyen. Let's dial him pink up here and call it a day. $6,200. Recent approach play has been scintillating. The good shot rate is nutsos. And guess what? Another South African that putts well on bent grass greens. We have a lot of those downstairs in the Southern Hemisphere, and he does much better on bent than he does on other courses. So sign us up for some EVR with the pink lady walking past the window here for the comp course history. Omen. So that's what's going on there. Oh boy. Take a look at these folks down here. So Justin Suh, never going to pop in the model, because what does he do? He's the Mr. Safety. $7,100, makes 92% of his cuts. 92. He was on a ridiculous cut-making streak earlier this year and then missed it, I think, just recently. But for someone that makes 92% of his cuts, he's only finishing inside the top 40, 42% of the time. So like that conversion rate is less than 50%. When you're making the cut, you're making it with like 65 people and ties. So call it 70 people. You got to beat 30 of them. He's usually doing it and making his way inside the top 20. And then the freaking wheels fall off over the weekend. So that's what you want to be doing. Justin Suh is going to get you to the weekend, and then he's going to leave you. He's going to go party. I don't know what he does. It's a disaster. So we'll see what he gets up to. Just an interesting situation there. Dylan Wu at $6,600 makes a bunch of cuts, and his comp course histories lines up really nicely. Really good off the tee accuracy and good drive gain wise. And he hits a lot of green in regulations and avoids bogeys nicely. Dylan Wu. I wanted to talk about Andrew Novak as well, who's also this cut-making beast. His 10 starts, he's made 8 cuts and finished inside the top 40, 50% of the time. There's not many stats that kind of make sense for him. So that's just what you're getting from Andrew Novak. Just he makes cuts with bland stats. Carson Young, $6,300, just absolutely lapped the field in US Open qualifying. kind of interesting situation there. I don't mind him. And then Thomas Dietrich. I know his recent performance has been a little lacking, but man, oh man, this guy made the cut at the PGA Championship. 70% of his 10 starts have been made cuts. 50% of the time he's inside the top 40, but he just can't finish inside the top 20, apparently. So that's what Thomas Dietrich's problem is. Interesting things there. Ryan Palmer, playing him in Texas, as always. 5% owned, $7,200. Let's go to him. And then MJ Duffy, $6,500. No one's going to be playing him. I don't mind going to him. He makes about 60% of his 10 starts. So far, he's making the cut. So that's what's going on with Duffy. And then Ches Reavie was this little superstar for me over the weekend. Played him in Showdown, played him in my week-longs. The guy was a beast. The last 24 rounds, he's 35th in the field in strokes gained. Casual $6,900, sitting all the way down here. The recent approach play has been pretty solid, and he's been putting pretty nicely too. 22nd and 16th in those two departments. 7th most accurate guy in the field. And his green and regulation rates generally are 9th best. So a lot to like from old Ches at $6,900. Don't mind him at 3% at all. Sam Ryder is nuts. The putting is the best in the field over the last 24 rounds. Everything else off the tee, approach, around the green, hot garbage. Nothing better than 80th. Very disappointing. I had high hopes for this guy, especially as one of the best putters in the world. Now he sits here all the way 97th in the model. So he needs to get his stuff figured out. I'm not sure what we're going to be doing there, but that's what's cooking. Check Michael Block out here, $6,900, 4% owned. That's hilarious. I don't know. I think the wheels are just going to fall off at some point for the guy. You know, I mean, how can you put last week? How can you make anything better than that? So, I mean, what a great performance from him. What an awesome time. I think this week is going to be a problem for him. We're going to fade the guy. Although we're thankful for what he did for us last week. Made a really fun week even better. So that's back 9 bets for you, friends. Thanks for tuning in. We went a little long. It's okay. We like what we're doing. Got some good names out there. Got some outrights, 5 of them. Got some matchups. Got some placement bets. Some DFS situations. Go check out the Rainmaker show I did with Joel, Draftmaster Flex, last night. He just won $150K in Showdown. So nothing crazy. $150,000. Yeah. So fun stuff. Got that guy as my co-host on a podcast. So that was fun. We had a great time talking Rainmakers yesterday. Check out everything at rotoballer.com. If you aren't a premium member and want access to all our premium stuff, use code MANIAC for 10% off. If you don't already like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, please do that. Hit the like button. Go check out. I got 2 reviews on Spotify and Apple. Whoever that was, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. If you haven't done that and have nothing better to do with your time, I'd appreciate one of those from y'all, even if you give me a 4 stars. But I think I deserve 5 because my mom told me I'm good at podcasting. I'm just joking. I'm talking a whole bunch of crap now. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week for the Rainmaker Show at 7 Central.